Day 101, and I have a lot I need to do before I can fight the Alpha Overseer. The first thing I did was craft myself a boomstick, because the thought of hitting a dinosaur in the face with buckshot brings me nothing but joy.
There's an endangered species right there.
I also made some grapples so I would have an easier time navigating caves later. That, or I could just die in the caves. Either works. Now it was time to start raising my armies, and step 1 was to breed the Rexes. When the egg hatched later, I got twins, and both of them had the very good warrior stats I wanted. Unfortunately, they were both dudes, and I needed a female with the good stats in order to guarantee getting the good stats every time. Listen, I have nothing against the LGBT, but, you know, this just isn't how biology works. I should change the topic before I get cancelled. I was almost caught slacking off on day 102 as I raised the kids because I only barely managed to fully imprint them before they got all the way grown. That was bad grammar. I don't really care. Then I departed to go on another caving spree, and while I'm at it, why don't I just tell you that I now have a second channel. It's called Choofy VODs, and I'm gonna be putting non-ARC content there and kinda whatever I feel like doing, so go and subscribe, because it's cool and funny. Anyways, as I'm out and about on my way to the cave, I found a yellow drop and later a purple drop, both of which had decent loot. I don't think you could name anybody else who would go into a cave at midnight. I just have nuts of steel. I'm built different. The spiders aren't as scary when you're riding a creature that eats them for breakfast by the dozens. Day 103, I spent the entire day in the cave. Oh, Shotgun, my beloved, how I missed you. I missed the feeling of forcing creatures to kiss my buckshot from a distance. I didn't miss the feeling of mega rabies though. I got it several times, and because of that, I nearly died. After killing all the sarcos that resided in the big lake at the bottom of the cave, I decided just to hop in with my Thyla and began massacring the piranhas. I mean, come on, 20 piranhas? That's crazy. That's crazy. With the help of grappling hooks, I managed to secure the artifact, and as I was trying to make my way out of the cave, I got very, very lost. I'm pretty sure I was going around in circles for most of the time there, and I didn't get out of the cave until the very end of the day. My caving spree wasn't even done though, because on day 104, I entered the lava cave. Bro, I'm so done with mega rabies. Oh my god. I need a cure. I need a cure, Morty. I did find a cave drop that had the blueprint for an Ascendant pistol though, so you know, worth it, I guess. I'm not gonna act excited about it though, cause I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even make the damn thing. Jumping over the lava was super sketchy as always, but I did grab the artifact and make it out of the cave alright, so, alright. On my way home, I found this purple drop that made me very sad. We're not going to talk about it. The next day, I hatched another Rex, but it was a veggie baby in terms of stats, so I killed it for experience. I repaired my armor while I was home, and then since I was still in a caving mood, made my way towards the cave with the artifact of the Skylord, probably my least favorite cave. I decided to play it very carefully this time, and placed a bed right outside the cave. I don't know if I've ever died in here, but you know, I'm always scared I will. There weren't as many bad things on the inside of the cave as I thought there would be, but I will note that on a couple occasions there were some bats that came after me and didn't bite. They just kind of flew there. Hey buddy, how's it going? Somehow, even with the lack of biting that was going on, I still somehow managed to get mega rabies, so I grabbed the artifact and got out of that cave as fast as I could. Day 106, I organized my loot a bit at home and got some more narcoberries for narcotics. I would need hundreds of these because now I felt ready to go find a Therizino. It didn't take me too long to find this level 135 with decent stats for fighting bosses, so I set up a trap. Yes, I'm well aware that the navigation for the AI was updated for this version of ARC, and I don't really care. I still managed to trap it anyway. I guess Uwu Face had fallen into the trap at some point and I hadn't realized because he was very quickly killed. As I cried, coped, seethed, mauled it even, I knocked out the Therizino. I'm just blessed by good eyesight, what can I say? I could see through the tears and shoot my gun properly. Also, I'm realizing I sound dead inside. Do I sound dead inside? I feel dead inside. Day 107, I fed the narcotic equivalent of 4 pounds of ketamine to the Therizino and then went back home so I could get veggies from my fridge. Then I returned, gave it the veggies, and then waited for it to tame. So, as it turns out, taming this Therizino is taking a lot longer than I thought it would. When it did finally tame up, though, it got good stat bonuses for health and melee, so it was worth the wait. At the end of the day, I found this low-level female brontosaurus and decided I would knock it out because I could use its eggs to make kibble. Hopefully it didn't hear me say that, though. It's a pretty sad existence, if I'm being honest. The Bronto tamed the following morning, so I returned home and bred it with the male, and then began hatching another Rex. You know what rhymes with Rex? Sex. The Bronto egg I held onto for kibble, but when the Rex hatched, it was another dookie baby, so I killed it. This is not a sanctuary for the weak. You disgust me. Then I had another great need for metal, as one always seems to have an arc, so I went on another metal run. I finished the metal run on day 110, and I crafted tons of cementing paste once I got home with the excess stone I got. I was starting to get pretty annoyed hearing all the penguin noises every time I was in my crafting hub, so I led the penguin harem outside, where I'd be annoyed by the noises coming from outside now. Don't know why I thought that was a productive use of time. Later on my RG, I killed off this low-level pack of Allosauruses so I could steal their organs. That's just what you do. That's how you assert dominance. All my water tames in the lake were really chaotic, so I spent some time organizing them to make them look nice. All of them were on neutral, so all it was gonna take for this to get messed up was one piranha, and, you know, I'll just enjoy this while I can. Day 111, I killed penguin babies for polymer. Listen, fellas, it's a dinosaur game. All ethics are already out the window. While I waited for the Bronos to lay another egg, I went out on a large wood, thatch, and narcoberry run. Ironically, while I was gone, they laid an egg and it hatched, so when I returned, I had this useless brontosaurus waiting for me. Yeah, no, I'm not paying child support for this. Nice try, though. I did a bit more organizing and then began laying the foundation for my greenhouse. I didn't get very far, though. I couldn't place the crop plots because apparently it was underwater. Does this look underwater to you? No, it doesn't. I hate this game. Day 112, I hatched another good pair of Rexes, but unfortunately they were both males again. Literally, what is it going to take for me to get a female? Hey, that kinda sounds like, let's change the topic. As I raised the new babies, I began building up the walls to my greenhouse, but I ran out of crystal at the very end. The babies were now fully raised, so I left to go to the volcano for crystal, and on my way up, I found this level 95 Allosaurus. Ooh, and it's the opposite gender, too. But first things first, I'm gonna get the crystal before I forget. Okay, now I can set up a trap. Hopefully this works. You know, sometimes I look back and hate the fact that I'm a stubborn person, because getting this Allosaurus into the trap was an absolute headache. Still, somehow I managed to get it inside, so I guess I win. The next morning, I finished knocking out the allo and began waiting for it to tame. You know, this went pretty flawlessly if I do say so myself, and I do. After I flew home, I bred my 2 allos and began raising their baby. Stats be damned, honestly. All of them were probably gonna die in the snow cave anyway. I took one of the newly raised Rex babies out for a leveling run and to get some meat, which involved killing a couple alpha predators. When I got back, I had a nice brontosaurus egg waiting for me, and I placed all of the meat I had collected into the feeding troughs. I now had plenty of eggs from both Bronos and Rexes alike, so now I could start making kibble. There was also one last Rex egg I needed to hatch before I left, but it was a dud again. See you later, buddy. Tell St. Peter I said hi. Then I went looking for a female counterpart to my male Therizino. It didn't take me too long to get distracted though, because I saw this level 140 male with a good melee stat. Okay, fine, you win. I'll tame you. Therizino finished taming on day 115, and I left to go back home to get more kibble for more taming because I can't stop getting distracted because I'm just such a... What's the word? Oh yeah, speaking of getting distracted, I raised another allo baby because I had one waiting for me at home. I couldn't really ignore it, and I also had a Rex egg I needed to hatch, and when that hatched, I finally got a female with all the good stats. I finished raising that female Rex the next day, and I named it the Ultimate Mother, because it was going to literally be the Ultimate Mother.
Couldn't be cool.
Then I finally got around to making some more kibble, and then I left to go find that female Therizino. And nothing. I just keep finding level 15s. I also tamed this little guy. I would need him. And, I'm still looking. Holy cow, bro. Where are all the females? Literally me at parties. I finally found this level 145 female next to the red obelisk. Good stats, too. I knocked it out and then began taming it, which was a lot quicker this time because of the kibble. I returned home victorious. The hunt was worth it. Now that I had all the creatures I needed to officially start my Rex and Therizino armies on day 118, that's exactly what I did. I got lucky with my next Rex, which was another good female, but my first Therizino baby was a dookie. All I really did for the rest of the day was raise kids. Yeah. Day 119, I crafted a tree platform and a few sap taps. I would need to start getting certain resources sooner rather than later, so I wasn't scrambling like an idiot when I wanted veggie cakes later. I then made a Brono saddle so I could move the 2 of them closer to my kitchen. Hey man, I hate cardio as much as the next guy, alright? I didn't like running all the way out there every single time I wanted an egg. I then realized I had compiled a bunch of loot on my RG that I didn't need it to carry, so it was time to organize it into storage. Day 120, I placed all the tree-related stuff that I had made the previous previous day and looked for a Yudi, but then my PC had a blue screen of death. Don't worry, I didn't lose the world this time, just the recording. I hate this game. Don't worry though, I'm still looking for Udis and Megatheriums on day 121, and my luck so far has been very bad, let's just say. Lots of low levels. I finally did find a level 120 female Utyrannus and set up a trap. Trying to trap her this time was an absolute nightmare, and it didn't even work because she ran off after a while. When I gave chase though, I found a level 145 male. So rather than doing the box trap method, I tried doing the metal sign trap method, and that was very dangerous and very headache inducing. I don't know how I managed to do it, but by the very end of the day, I managed to get it trapped and began knocking it out. Day 122, I killed a nearby ovis so I could steal its mutton for my sleeping fuzzy friend. While the first Yudi was taming, I managed to locate the level 120 once again, and then this time, trapping it with the signs was a lot easier than the first time. I sat AFK until the first Yudi tamed, and then did the same with the second. After getting home, I hatched some more eggs, and my luck was down again by the looks of it. The Yudi egg hatched on day 123, but the child had very cringe stats, so I ended its misery. I only needed one more boss fighting creature, which were Megatheriums. I wanted to get them sooner rather than later this time, so I wouldn't end up having another panic attack like I did on Fjordur. In all my looking, I only found like 3, and all of them were really bad levels. I wouldn't call it a bad day though, because later I came across a red drop that had the blueprint for an apprentice Therizino saddle. Day 124 began with me killing some Thylas for their hook claws. Then my game crashed and then restarted me at the very beginning of the day. Fun. So I just said screw it and went back home where I found another Utyrannus egg waiting for me. Then my game crashed again, so when I relogged I discovered that this had actually despawned the egg. I said some pretty bad words after that. The entirety of the following day was spent raising babies. That's right, Choofy's playing nanny today. It's like those games of house I was forced to play as a child, except this time I have very cool killer dinosaurs. Day 126 and I'm still raising le bebes. I hatched another Yudi egg and finally had one with good stats. The rest of the day would be spent raising this dude, or dudette. I don't know, it doesn't say in my notes and I'm too lazy to look at the recording. Day 127, I went looking for Megatheriums again. While I was at it, I found this Alpha Carnotaurus and I killed it with my Utyrannus for levels. I also decided to pick up those metal signs I used for traps earlier and just recycle them for the Megatheriums. I followed the river up a little ways and then found this level 150 female. My prayers had been answered. And you know, the sign method should have clicked by now, but I'm just a walking skill issue, so it took me the entire day to actually trap this thing. I may have looked like an absolute dork, but at least I was successful. Day 128 and knocked out the Megatherium. I quickly went back home so I could make some more kibble, and when I returned, this mother fricker was literally in the mesh. I literally had to use ghost mode to get to her. There was no way I could have put the food in her inventory otherwise. This is peak Ark Survival Ascended, ladies and gentlemen. I paid a quick visit to the redwoods so I could get sap and hopefully see if I could see any high-level Megatheriums there. Lo and behold, this was actually the play because I saw this level 145 male. Hey buddy, don't mind the bear trap, it's my last one, but I could get you a wife if you just comply. I then knocked out the Megatherium, and while I was waiting for it to tame, I began building a stone ramp up to some nearby honey. Day 129, I built a second stone honey ramp. After the male finished taming up, I returned home and began breeding the two of them. I should also add that both of these had good taming bonuses for their health stat. The grand majority of the day was spent hatching and raising this one Rex, but at the end of the day, my Megatheriums had triplets. I took one look at their melee stat and realized all 3 of them were bilge and they had to be purged from the earth. I set up a chair on my dock so I could fish while I waited for kids to raise. Hopefully it would give me good blueprints, but knowing my luck, probably not. Day 130, I just spent most of the day fishing. Whenever I wasn't imprinting a child, I was fishing. And got nothing. Literally, what did I just say about my luck? Day 131, I kind of just AFK'd while I waited for more Megatherium children to be born. It took a long time, but when it was finally born, I got another dud. Damn you and your lousy genetics! At this point, both my Rex and Therizino armies had swollen to a considerable size, so I organized them so I could 1, keep them out of the way, and 2, be able to count how many I had later. Day 132 and 133, I'm still raising babies. That's all I did for 2 days straight, and still no good Megatheriums. I'm doing the same exact thing on day 134. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Megatherium, can you, like, give me a good child for once? Or like, you know, not keep doing what you've been doing up until this point? Listen, you know, the clock's ticking. I need you to be productive. So, quit being a disappointment. I hoped my little pep talk to the Megatheriums would help me on day 135 when a new baby was born, and it was yet another dud. I did keep this one though, because statistically the chances of me getting a good baby now was even higher that I had 2 Megatheriums giving me babies. Oh yeah, and I'm still raising babies. That's a surprise, isn't it? Day 136, I'm still raising. Day 137, I got another dud Megatherium. You want to give me a dud, Mrs. Megatherium? Well, that's fine. You can just eat your own baby. How did it taste? I was really sick of just standing there and doing nothing, so I went to the redwoods to kill some thylas. Since I was over in that general area, I decided to make another honey ramp, because soon here I would need a lot of honey. I was excited to find this red drop on the way home, but that excitement turned to sadness real fast as soon as I opened it. Day 138, I finally got a good Megatherium baby. Oh, look at that, it's a male. My other Megatherium mother gave birth as well, and it was another dud. So, you know, I created some more forced trauma. What can I say? Megatheriums learn a lot better from negative reinforcement. Day 139, I raised the good Megatherium, and once it was done, it was time to head to the swamp cave for the first time. See, buddy, what's a couple dragonflies? A couple dragonflies were never gonna hurt. Oh, hey, chill, guys. I forgot how much stuff was in the swamp cave. Day 140, I spent a whole bunch more time in the swamp cave, but while I was doing that, my game crashed, so I paused my recording to get it set up again, but I forgot to resume recording, so, enjoy this 12 seconds of me standing here doing nothing. Day 141, I placed the artifact of the immune into my throne room. Since I had been gone for a while, it was time to start raising some more kids, and oh my gosh, I got another dud Megatherium, make it stop! Alright, you know the drill. If you produce a bad baby for me, then I'm just gonna make you eat it. This would also be a momentous day in this playthrough, because it's the first time I leveled up a Rex with child slaughter. Day 142, I was feeling quite comfortable with the size of my Allosaurus pack, so I took him to Carno Island and went on a killing rampage. It didn't take too long before I killed everything on the island with my Allosaurs, so I went into the water and started leveling up my Megalodon pack. Megalodons are really underrated in this game. I mean, we shredded apart a Tuso, a bunch of these weird little crab thingies, the Euchlorhynchids on the bottom of the ocean. We even tore an Alpha Mosasaur to pieces, and to be honest, it wasn't even close. The Gnash ability pretty much melted its health. Day 143, I continued swimming despite the fact that one of my Megalodons had gone missing somehow. I found one of the artifact caves and decided to go inside against my better judgment. And I'm gonna be honest, this thing was kind of a cakewalk. There weren't nearly as many things spawning in this cave as there were in Ark Survival Evolved, and yeah, the worst thing I found was a Megalodon, so getting the artifact was a piece of cake. As I was leaving the cave, for some reason I thought it would be a good idea to take off my oxygen tank and, you know, naturally almost paid the price for it. But now I was also freezing because I wasn't wearing a full diving suit, and so I had to stay on shore and cook some meat and stay warm. Day 144, I continued my water expedition and found pretty much nothing except more Megalodons and a couple Dunkleosteus, or I don't even know if I said that right. I don't really care. I returned to the RG and then got a drop with some really useful saddles. That put the cherry on top of the entire journey, so I went home and organized my brand new loot. I spent some time reorganizing my tames on day 145 because honestly, it was chaos. Aside from that, all I really did was raise more tickle chickens.
Hey Dad, are you winning?
No.
Day 146 was just an amalgamation of base work. Of course I was raising some more children, but I also harvested my crops for the first time in a while, or I guess the first time ever in this greenhouse. I organized just a wee bit and made some aloe saddles. Day 147, it was time to return to the swamp cave with my newly grown Megatherium so I could get loot and levels. The first red crate I came across gave me the blueprint to a Mastercraft Rex saddle, and a really good one too. The second red crate I came across had another Mastercraft blueprint, and this one was for a Giganotosaurus saddle. Then I came across a third red drop, but this one was honestly really meh compared to the others. I will take that Bronto saddle though. Don't you love it when I run the swamp cave and actually remember to record? If I had forgotten to record this day, it would have been a nightmare. Day 148, I returned home, raised kids, and organized new loot and new dinos. Yeah, sound boring? It's cause it was boring. Day 149, I installed a resource stacking mod because I couldn't make a Rex saddle otherwise. Not just a normal Rex saddle, I'm talking about one of the blueprint saddles. The hide it required alone wouldn't be able to fit into my smithy, but in order to make more saddles I would need a lot more metal, so I went to the mountains for, you guessed it, a metal run. While I was up there I realized that the weight reduction on this stacking mod was way too overpowered. I mean, I could hold like 1,000 stone and it would only weigh 60 pounds. Okay.
I'm fine with this. Day 150, I continued my metal run, and it took me to the volcano. But when I got there, I saw that there were actually 2 gigas inside. One of them was just chilling, but the other was way stuck in the mesh. Killing the one that was outside the mesh was easy enough. All I had to do was bait it to run across the lava a bunch of times, and then I finished it off with my long neck rifle. Probably the easiest giga heart I've ever acquired. I didn't realize how stuck the other giga was until I started shooting him, and then I realized he wasn't going anywhere, and this would take forever for me to kill him. His health was simply too high, and I would try and return later with my Thyla and pray it didn't bite me. So I just continued getting a bit more metal before finally heading home. Day 151, I began smelting all that metal and, like last time, began crafting the cementing paste with the excess stone. While I was gone, my aloes had another baby, and it ended up being fully grown by the time I got back. So I decided to kill it because I didn't need it, and when I started doing this, all of that organization was ruined because I guess everything was on neutral or something. Oh no, guys. Oh no, it's a mess. Guess what I spent the rest of the day doing? I had so many creatures I needed to reposition that I didn't finish until the next day. After I was done there, I took a Therizino out so I could get some hide and berries. It was never too early for me to start getting tons of hide, especially considering that I needed almost 5,500 per Rex saddle. I got a good amount of hide by the end of the day, but it wasn't nearly enough. Day 153, I decided it was time to try and kill that Giga in the volcano. I managed to get my kitty in the perfect spot where I could bite the Giga and it couldn't get me back, because, you know, I'd be very dead if it could. It took some time, but I finally managed to kill it. Then it was back to the swamp cave once again to level up yet another Megatherium. The loot was pretty disappointing on this run until I got to the last crate anyway. It gave me Ascendant Flak Gauntlets. Yippee! I somehow got turned around when I was in there and got a little lost, and I ended up right next to the artifact again, and I don't know, why not? I'll take it. Day 154, I traveled to the snow cave and saw a giggle. I really just called a Giga a giggle. I'm leaving that in. From now on, they are giggles. I don't care. Anyways, when in the snow cave, I released some of my aloes and my Yudi so I could scare out the Purlovias from their dens, and then slowly began making my way through the cave. And yeah, my aloes were really only there for cannon fodder. They didn't last very long. I had some really sketchy moments with polar bears after that on top of my Yudi, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me to bring out my other aloes, I just didn't. I did survive though, so I spent a bunch of time healing my Yudi. I had to play this safe. Day 155, I'm still healing my Yudi. It has a lot of health. I finally made it to the artifact room though, and picking it up was a really good feeling since I had been super anxious about going through this cave. Because the cave was pretty much completely cleared out at this point, I kept an eye out for drops on my way back. Lo and behold, I found some pretty good loot for myself, including this blueprint for Ascendant Flak boots, and this rocket launcher. Hey, yo! The other loot wasn't really worth mention because most of it was just saddles that I would never use. On my way home from the snow cave, I found this red drop and it gave me a Mosasaur saddle. Screw it, why not? I'll keep it. I'll just use it when I definitely, surely will maybe tame that Mosasaur later that I never did tame. Because I didn't tame a Mosasaur. Day 156, I put the Artifact of the Strong on its pedestal, and I gotta say, this throne room's looking pretty badass. I don't really get as much RGB here as I do in Ark Survival Evolved, but you know what, I'm not gonna complain, it still looks cool. I raised a Megatherium that had been born just as I got back home, and then did the math on how much hide, metal, and fiber I would need to craft all the Rex saddles I would need at once. Multiply each of those numbers by 19, and that's how much I needed. At the end of the day, I fed some of my Rexes some more food that's probably not FDA approved. Day 157, I raised another Megatherium and then went on another humongous hide run on my Therizino. Well, a different Therizino. It was pretty good for leveling them up, so there was no point in doing it with the same Therizino every single time. Day 158, I went on a couple more hide runs with Therizinos, and I forgot to record it, so enjoy me making a bunch of narcotic and stimulant, because that's fascinating content. Listen, if you'll watch them make drugs in Breaking Bad, why not watch Choofy make drugs here? CIA, that's a joke. I'm not actually making drugs. It's Anyway, day 159, I got some things ready so I can make Mind Wipe tonics. I raised another Megatherium and then once again visited the swamp cave for levels. Maybe I'm just getting greedy because I already have good loot right now, but the loot in the cave sucked. Tragedy fell, though, when I was on my way back out of the cave because I got a message telling me that Artemis had died. No, Artemis! I had left her on passive and this terror bird decided it was just gonna have itself a juicy snack, and then did have itself a juicy snack. Because of this, I packed up all the
loot that she was carrying in her inventory onto my Megatherium and had to run all the way back home. Before I did that, of course, I tracked that terror bird down and avenged Artemis. I would miss her. Day 160 after I got home, I prepared a bunch of stuff so I could go tame another RG. This really sucks. So began my hopefully not long and tedious search. I did find a Rex baby at one point and killed it because it was a perfect source of prime meat. Then finally, I found a level 145 right on the slopes of the volcano. I didn't bring any traps, I just jumped off of my Pteranodon and began shooting it. This was a dumpster fire of a knockout process, but somehow it managed to work at the end, so I'm not gonna complain. Day 161, the RG tamed, and I named her Demeter. Most of the day would be spent flying around on this thing, leveling it up with explorer's notes, killing Rexes, and even an Alpha Carno at one point. And I gotta say, the melee damage was much better on Demeter than it was Artemis. It didn't make me miss Artemis less, but it was bittersweet now. Then, since I was out and about, I decided it was high time I went on a metal run. A big metal run. I needed so much. Didn't you do the math from earlier? Come on, what are you doing, viewer? Doing the same thing all day the next day? Listen, I needed an unholy amount of metal for this. Day 163, my metal run had taken me to the snowy mountains where I saw another Giga. You know, I don't want to be seeing these things after I have the hearts I need to summon a boss fight, but okay, go off game. I did end up finding this drop with Ascendant Fur Boots. Yes please. Ignoring that, I finished my metal run and then headed back home and once again crafted extra cementing paste with the extra stone. I then noticed that there were some Rex babies that had hatched in my absence, and we have a no tolerance policy on stowaways, so I took care of them quickly.
If you mess with the truth, you get the boot.
According to my notes on day 164, all I did was raise another Megatherium. Like, that's all I did, all day. Okay then. Day 165, I tried to run the swamp cave again, but for some reason nothing had spawned in there. I still went in, just since I was curious to see if there were any cave drops, and there was a blue one, but the loot was doggy poo. Then I realized I still hadn't done the other underwater cave with the artifact of the cunning, so it was time to go in, and as I was going in, my game crashed. Then, in Shoofy style, I forgot to record myself going through the cave, which was pretty much like the other cave with less stuff. I wasn't gonna let this slide though, and as punishment, I forced myself to go back into the cave, all the way to the artifact. This cave has a reputation for being very difficult, so, you know, I at least need some proof that I actually went all the way in. On my way back out of the cave, there was an alpha lead Psychthis, and yeah, don't mind if I do, I'll be taking that blubber. I tried going back to the swamp cave on day 166, and this time things had spawned again, so it was time to get more experience for a Megatherium. After the swamp cave, I began trying to safari tame this dire bear, because having a dire bear means more honey. Let's just say that this was kind of stupid, and I got my cardio in all day, just chasing this stupid thing around. I finally did manage to knock it out, and yeah, it was an experience. The following morning, I gave some honey to the bear so I could get some better taming effectiveness. While the sleeping dude would munch on that, I went to go get this purple drop, and this purple drop had a blueprint for a Megatherium saddle. Fellas, I'm set. This is huge. The bear finished taming, and I named him Winnie the Pooh. I made 6 mind wipe tonics once I got home, and then mind wiped and crafted the 19 Therizino saddles, because I had everything I needed. After that was finished, I mind wiped again so I could get my previous stats back, and then began equipping all the Therizinos with the saddles. Day 168, I was extremely productive. I sat around and waited for a Megatherium to be born. It wasn't even born on that day. I just waited for it. Yeah, my computer crashed as I was raising a Megatherium on day 169, so I lost that bit of the recording, but I did capture this part where I get a whole bunch of hide on another Therizino. Over 20,000 by the end of the day. This, my friends, is called profit. This is good. This is why I enslave anima. This is why I tame things. Yeah, this is why I tame things. Day 170, I tried making another swamp cave run, but for the second time in this playthrough, nothing was spawning. How dare you take away my easy button for leveling, game? You swore it was fully operational.
Fully operational, huh? Well, I'll be the judge of that.
So I just returned home and spent the rest of the day leveling up Rexes with cannibalism. Completely ethical cannibalism, I swear. I'm running out of baby killing jokes. I might just get lazy here and throw in the Anakin meme. For day 171, I double-checked my math to see how much stuff I would need to craft the Rex saddles. Guys, I need so much. Guys, please. I hatched some Rex eggs so I could slaughter them for experience, then waited for a Megatherium to be born, and once it was, I raised it. Day 172, I was back to the swamp cave for even more levels, and this time I found an Ascendant assault rifle inside one of the crates. Dude, for real, what even is a kilometer? Then it's back to those fun, good ol', great, good ol', fun, funny hide runs on the
Therazinos that I love doing so much. Guys, I'm recording these narrations and I'm so tired. I walk down this empty street on the boulevard of broken dreams where the city sleeps. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. I was just so busy getting more hide. Finally, though, I had achieved the amount of hide I would need to craft all 19 Rex saddles. And you know what? Looking at all the crafting bonuses I got, the pain was worth it, I think. You know what, I'll get back to you on that one. I'm just gonna deliver the Rex saddles for now. Of course, my saddle making adventures weren't over quite yet because I still had all those Megatherium saddles to make. So, on day 174, I went on a huge stone run so I could craft a bunch of cementing paste. Then, for the rest of the day, I was raising Megatheriums again. I should probably note that a couple of them had mutations at this point, but I have absolutely no idea which stat they had mutations in, so, I don't really care. Day 175. The entire day I'm on hide runs with multiple Therazinos. Nothing really else to see here. Keep moving. On day 176, I finally had enough hide to make myself the Megatherium saddles. So I went back to the base, took some mind wipes, and, well, made the saddles. Bet you never saw that coming. Day 177, I'm finishing up raising the Megatherium so I can take them to the swamp cave for leveling runs. While I was in there, I found chest pieces for both ghillie and riot armor. Day 178, I'm kinda peeing myself as I collect the tributes from my storage and cryo my Rexes so I can take them to the boss terminal. Sure, my Rexes were strong, but I had never fought an alpha boss before, so this was kinda scary. But you know what? It's time to set the fear aside, cause I got a monkey to fight. Wow, that's the first time I've ever beaten an alpha boss on the island. Day 179, I cryoed my army and took a head count to see who the survivors were, and it looks like I only lost 5 Rexes to the death pit. Once I got back home, I went into overdrive, trying to prepare my Megatherium armies to take on the Broodmother, which would be my next boss. I was kinda putting off the dragon fight because that one, by far, was the scariest out of all of them. As I began raising my replacement Rexes for the ones that had fallen in the previous boss fight, I began examining what I would need to create veggie cakes for the Therazinos. Day 180 was entirely dedicated towards raising kids. I wanted to make sure I had all of my Rexes with plenty of time to level them up way ahead of time before I had to go into the tech cave. But that's assuming I even beat the next 2 bosses. Day 181, I finished raising the Rexes and leveled up the last of my Megatheriums at the swamp cave. Since I was there, I decided to grab some honey with the bear and some sap from the sap taps as well. Feeling super anxious, I delivered all the Megatheriums to the boss terminal for the Broodmother and then realized I had forgotten all the summoning tributes. That's kinda awkward. I'm gonna be right back. Alright, Spider Mommy, let's see what you got. Last time I fought you, you weren't too terribly hard, but then again, that was a lesser version than the one I'm about to fight, so I have no idea how this is gonna go.
That was an absolute dumpster fire of a fight. It got so desperate that I dismounted my Yudi so I could get some extra buckshot in for extra damage, and then my Yudi died, somehow. I guess all that really matters in the end is that I won. I am really not looking forward to the dragon. Obviously, the first thing I did as soon as I got home was hatch another Yudi, and the entire next day I was pretty much raising that Yudi, and needed a lot of attention. Well, okay, not the entire day, because I realized that I still didn't have an Alpha Tuso trophy, and I really needed that in order to get into the tech cave. So I began looking for one, and man, where do these things spawn? I haven't seen a single one. You gotta be squidding me, am I right, guys? I found the Alpha Tuso on day 184 and murdered it easily with my pack of Megalodons. The last thing I needed to find was an Alpha Rex, and then I would have everything I needed to get into the Alpha Tech Cave. Fortunately, these things shouldn't be too hard to find. You just need to look around the snowy area and bingo. I didn't have anything with me to kill it, and I wasn't gonna kill it on my RG, so I went home and got some Rexes and brought them back, and then, well, we murdered it. Very quickly. Then it was to the redwoods to get some more honey for veggie cakes. At the rate I was collecting them, I wouldn't have enough sap or honey in order to make the amount of veggie cakes that I would need to fight the Alpha Dragon. I spent the entire day going from the sap taps to the honey hives and back to the sap taps. Still doing the same thing on day 186, I would have to be pretty unrelenting if I wanted enough. I did take a short break to deliver all the Therazinos to the red obelisk before heading right back to keep collecting. Ah, don't you just love going AFK for sap? By this point, I had plenty of honey for my veggie cakes, but I didn't have enough sap, so now I'm just waiting here for sap. Although, yeah, a little more honey couldn't hurt, right? Still waiting on sap. I'm gonna be here a while. Yup, still waiting for sap. Lamau. Man, this is really invigorating content. I really bet you guys are enjoying this right now. Ah, yes. Sap. Okay, you know what? It's decided. My last day for waiting for sap will be day 194, because I won't have time to do anything else. Sap, 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 sap. Alright, that should be enough. Time to go back home. Day 195, I spent all morning crafting the veggie cakes. So for some reason, I thought in my head that they were more expensive to make than they actually were, so I ended up with plenty. Even with that going my way though, it wasn't nearly enough to curb the huge amount of building anxiety I had as I flew towards the red obelisk. Also, just ignore this big black box in the corner. I don't even know what OBS was doing. I managed to fix it after day 198, but I'm sorry, you're going to see it in the boss fight.
Please! Damn! Damn!
And as I prepared to summon the boss fight, I realized I forgot the boss summoning tributes. Yippee! Time to go back home! Sag. I returned back to the red obelisk with all the summoning tributes on day 196, and I was literally shaking as I summoned the boss fight. This was going to be wild. And somehow, with that, the Alpha Dragon fight was officially the smoothest boss battle I had had up until this point. I had done such a good job of staying out of the way of all of the dragon's attacks that even my Utyrannus had barely taken any damage. Of course, a bunch of the Theris had very, very low health, but I cryoed them and would heal them back up at home. The only thing that mattered was that they were alive. As the sun rose on the next day, I surveyed my land with a renewed sense of confidence. I could actually do this. I could actually go and beat the Alpha Overseer. Thinking ahead to the tech cave, I made some pheromone darts for the gigas I would find inside. I let my theories heal with the extra veggie cakes, because it wouldn't hurt to have some extra fighting power inside the cave. Then I went on a very large berry run for something very, very important, I swear. What were those berries for, you might ask? Dye. Lots of dye. Imagine the abominations I can paint with these. Oh hey, I didn't see you there. Here I've got a couple of great works I want to show you guys. So the first ensemble I have for you guys I call Germa, because I literally just drew Germa, let's be honest. I also drew this very depressed troll, but don't worry, I left an inspirational message. And as for the other three, I was running out of ideas, okay? Alright, it's time. I prepared. I feel ready for this. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. Alright, Alpha Tech Cave, here I come. Everything I've done up until this point is for this. And then I bet you'll never guess what the game did to me as soon as I got in. It crashed. I lost my entire army. Even after pulling a bunch of behind-the-scenes strings, it was just so irritating for me to try and get back to where I was. Even still, I had to do this 2 times over because the game would just keep crashing every time I went into the tech cave. Finally, I managed to get it so that I had my entire army in cryopods right before the terminal to get to the Hall of History. That way, if the game crashed, I wouldn't lose my army and have to restart. Although right now, I'm gonna tell you guys this, even though I didn't realize it until after the Overseer fight. By crashing right before the terminal, it actually reverted the difficulty back to Gamma. And you know what? I'm just sick of this game, so you know what? Let's get on with it. To the Hall of History.
Love? No. This is more like pride. Yes, that's it. I'm proud of you, survivor. You've accomplished what few have. You've ascended. I once did too, when I was her. Helena. She was an explorer too. And like you, she traveled the arcs and discovered their secrets. You're following in her footsteps. Keep going. Discover what became of Helena and her friends. Survive the many challenges ahead, and you'll find me here waiting for you. Together, we may yet be able to save our world.